Hello everyone and welcome to Live Interactive English. I'm Mike.
I am Rainbow.
And today, as we're in January, we should probably talk about the cooler weather that we have here in Taiwan. I mean, it never really gets cold, like ice and snow cold in Taiwan, at least not in the cities, but it definitely cools down compared to the
I guess
summer.
Wet cold, which can be really cold.
That's true, and the houses in Taiwan don't have heaters and you know, things that we have in other places.
The walls get cold.
Keep them warm. That's right. So I find I'm often colder at home in Taiwan than I am when I go out. Because when I go out, I have a jacket, I'm walking around, but sitting at home on a sofa watching a TV or whatever, you know, on your computer or whatever, it can definitely get cold. Then that is where hand warmers come in. A lot of people like these.
Oh yeah, there's so many different kinds. There's the kind that you can throw away and then you just need to rub it and then you can keep it with you the whole day for like 8 hours.
Oh, they last a long time.
Those are disposable.
Okay.
And there are ones that are reusable.
Oh, wow.
That have a foil inside, which you can crack and then it just warms itself up. And there's some kind that you can put in the microwave that warms it up.
Right.
So there are a lot of different technologies that keep you warm. I had a friend, she was really thin, so she recommended that I put a bunch of sticky hand warmers on my body. Like she had like 8 of them.
Oh my gosh.
And she was really warm.
Oh, okay. That's one way of doing it. And of course, a lot of these things are easy to find at supermarkets, even convenience stores.
And cheap nowadays.
And of course, you can go to camping supply stores. Lots of places you can get them. But yeah, some of them are kind of mysterious. You get this bag, you kind of shake it around, and suddenly it's warm for 12 hours. What is going on? Well, let's find out. It's all about the cool way hand warmers work.
Technology.
And hopefully they do work.
Yeah, they do.
Question: why does shaking a hand warmer help it heat up more quickly? A. It improves oxygen flow. B. It creates sound energy. C. It causes the oil inside to burn. D. It takes warmth from your hand. If you've ever spent a long time in the cold, you know how important hand warmers can be. But how do they create heat without electricity? The answer: through a common chemical reaction that we see all the time. Hand warmers work by starting a process that makes rust form on an iron powder. This reaction releases heat and is called oxidation. Hand warmers contain 4 main ingredients that are needed for this process to take place. These are the iron powder itself, salt, water, and activated carbon. The final ingredient needed is oxygen, which is added when the hand warmer comes into contact with air. The oxygen in the air enters the device through tiny holes in its surface and reacts with the ingredients inside, creating heat.
All right, so we're going to find out all about this. Please tell us, Rainbow. We actually have some questions, don't we?
We do.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Question says, why does shaking a hand warmer help it heat up more quickly? We've got several choices for you. A, it improves oxygen flow. B, it creates sound energy. C, it causes the oil inside to burn. D, it takes warmth from your hand. Interesting choices.
Those are interesting choices. I've never actually used them that often. I thought you were kind of making some chemicals mix.
Yeah, me too.
When you did that, but not oil. I don't think anything's burning in there.
Oh,
that sounds a little crazy. Sound, I'm not sure about that one, but I'm not really 100% confident of any of those answers. So let's read on. It says, if you've ever spent a long time in the cold, you know how important hand warmers can be. They can definitely be important, but you know what else is useful? Gloves.
Oh yeah.
Gloves are useful too.
Wool gloves.
But
Cashmere.
sometimes you don't want to wear gloves or it's not convenient. So hand warmers can be very useful. But here's the question, how do they create heat without electricity? There's nothing plugged in, right? It's not like an electric heater or something like that. You carry them around with you. That's why they're convenient, but it's not convenient to have them plugged in to the wall or to a battery. So how does it happen? The answer, through a common chemical reaction that we see all the time.
Oh, you were right about that then.
Kind of right,
Yeah.
but not really. And I don't know what this reaction is, but a reaction is basically when two things come together and those two things make something happen. All right, we're not just mixing things.
Effect.
We're causing some kind of effect. We're causing some kind of change by bringing these things together. If you've ever been in a science class and the science teacher has a liquid here and a liquid here, and they both look pretty normal.
Boom.
Maybe they're both even clear like water, but suddenly they pour one in the other and suddenly there's smoke, or it turns into foam, or it explodes, or it starts to smell real bad, or something like that. That is a reaction. And we use this, of course, in chemistry, but we also use it when making food, especially with like baking and things like that. It says bread and cheese are both made by chemical reactions. The first one is the yeast reacting, and then the second one is the cream and the bacteria in the milk reacting. So changes happen and new things are created.
Yeah, let's find out about these hand warmers.
Yeah.
Hand warmers work by starting a process that makes rust form on an iron powder.
Really?
This reaction releases heat and is called oxidation. Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Powder. All right, so powder is this fluffy thing. It's when you use a machine typically to grind an element or a chemical into very, very thin pieces that just float up in the air. It's a substance, a form called a powder. So we could imagine powder as something that you put on your face to set your makeup, to make it drier, or some type of food could be powder. For example, if you have garlic powder, you want to make your food taste good without cutting up pieces of garlic. It's ground into very thin little specks that you can just put in the soup. I think I put too much garlic powder in the soup and now it all tastes like garlic.
Ooh, that is way too much.
Too much.
All right, and to release is basically to let something go, to give something off. All right, it's inside a place and then it is now outside and it's allowed to go anywhere. At the end of the day, the school will release the children to go to the playground, to go home, to go to their other classes, whatever. They can all go. They are free. Or if you open up the windows in your house, if you've been burning your toast or burning steak, you're trying to release the smoke that's inside your kitchen because it's making you cough. Cars, here's the example sentence, cars release gases into the air that are bad for the planet. Cars do this, factories do this, cows do this. They release gases into the atmosphere, and sometimes those gases are bad. So there you go. It's a simple chemical reaction called oxidation. This is rusting. If you've ever seen metal that is turning red because it's been left out in the air and the rain and it's starting to kind of break down, that's kind of the same thing that's happening, but just much faster in a small area, so you can really notice the heat that is being released. Hand warmers contain 4 main ingredients that are needed for this process to take place. So what's the recipe for hand warmers? These are the iron powder itself. Yeah. So iron powder, salt, water, and activated carbon. Okay. So pretty common things, right? I don't know where you'd buy iron powder, but people use it in science experiments. Salt water from your kitchen. Activated carbon, I know this is often used in those pumps that clean the fish tank water.
Okay, interesting.
That can be activated carbon. So actually not too hard to find. The final ingredient needed is oxygen, air, or the gas that's in air that we breathe, the O in H2O, which is added when the hand warmer comes into contact with air.
Oh, that's the answer.
The oxygen in the air enters the device through tiny holes in its surface and reacts with the ingredients inside, creating heat.
So you were right about that one, I think. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. But it also explains why they're always wrapped in plastic, and when you get it out and want it to work, you kind of are working the air in with all of those chemicals in there.
Yeah, we have to take a very quick break, and then we'll talk more about how to create heat faster with a hand warmer.
Here's another way to create heat.
Yeah.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。同学们会在寒流来的时候使用暖暖包吗？你知道这些东西在没有电的情况下是如何产生热的呢？其实啊，它的原理是透过一种常见化学反应，也就是让铁粉生锈。这种反应会释放热量，称为氧化作用。那么暖暖包呢，就含有让氧化作用发生的4种主要成分，也是必要成分。那这些成分是铁粉、盐、水和活性炭。那还有最后一个必要成分是氧气。当这个暖暖包跟空气接触时，氧气就会被加进来。那么空气中的氧会通过暖暖包表面的小孔跑进里面，跟内部成分发生反应，产生热量。好，我们来看单字 reaction。reaction 它表示反应、化学反应或是回应。那单字例句写到面包和乳酪都是由化学反应制成的。这时候 Mike 老师他用到yeast Y-E-A-S-T yeast 它表示酵母或是酵母菌。那下一个单字 powder 表示粉或是粉末。那么 Rainbow 老师在解释单字时提到 fluffy F-L-U-F-F-Y fluffy 它是形容松软的、蓬松的。还有提到 speck S-P-E-C-K speck 可以用来描述这个粉末状物质它的微粒，或是描述斑点小块。好，那我们再看到 release 这个动词，它可以表达排放、释放、发行或是公布。那这边2个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看第一个重点是 take place， 它表示发生、举行。那这个片语的主词通常是计划或是安排好的事物，那么意思会跟 happen 或是 occur 相同。不过注意，它是要用主动表示哦。例如 their wedding will take place in August。他们的婚礼将于8月举行。第二重点是 come into contact with 加名词，表示接触到什么什么。contact 在这边是当不可数名词，是指接触、触摸。举例来说 ，Don't let your skin come into contact with the toxic substance。别让你的皮肤接触到那一种有毒物质哦。好，那直接回到课文中。
Shaking a hand warmer allows more oxygen to enter. As a result, it heats up more quickly. To give your hand warmer a longer life, keep it in a plastic bag. This cuts it off from its oxygen supply, preventing the chemical reaction from taking place when it's not in use.
Okay, let's go back to the article where we will find out the answer to our question. Shaking a hand warmer allows more oxygen to enter. As a result, it heats up more quickly. So the answer to our question is A. It improves oxygen flow. That makes sense.
Very interesting. But would it also make the hand warmer sort of finish faster?
It
right?
would, right?
Use it up? I don't know. It says
I think so.
To give your hand warmer a longer life, keep it in a plastic bag.
Oh, like a Ziploc. That makes sense.
This cuts it off from its oxygen supply, preventing the chemical reaction from taking place when it's not in use. That's interesting.
It
is. You could
is.
actually like take it out, put it in your pocket when you're walking outside, but then when you get home, put it in a plastic bag, and you would still be able to use it later. Huh.
Plastic.
Interesting. There you go. Plastic is one of those artificial materials. It's made by science in factories. It's made using oil and stuff like that. It's really wonderful because it's waterproof, it's strong. We can We can make it into any shape, from really thin plastic bags to really thick, solid pieces of plastic that we use to make shoes or cell phones or parts of cars. But of course, it's really not good for the environment because it's not natural and it doesn't break down in a few hundred years. I think plastic lasts about 500 years before it breaks down. So it's wonderful, it's cheap, it's strong, it's light, but it's bad for the environment. But we're kind of hooked on it now. The whole world kind of needs plastic. I like to make things out of old plastic bottles. Good for you, whoever wrote that. They are reusing, recycling, and upscaling their plastic by turning it into objects of art or something. Good thing to do, better than throwing it in the garbage.
The next vocabulary word we have here is to prevent. To prevent means you're causing something to not happen, which means, or you're avoiding it by doing something which makes it not happen. So if you want to prevent dying young, you want to exercise a lot and be healthy. If you want to prevent disease, you want to be able to take your vitamins and also take care of your health. Chloe was prevented from sleeping by the loud music playing next door. So she could not sleep. She was put away from it. She couldn't do it because it was too loud. Okay, so that is the end of our article, and I have a what do you think question for you. What is the coldest you have ever been, and how did you warm yourself up?
The coldest I have ever been was when I was in Canada. It was the day after Christmas, maybe in the 1990s sometime. I was with my friends. It was minus 40.
Oh my goodness gracious. That is very extremely cold.
It was actually more like minus 28, but it was very windy. So on your skin, it felt like minus 40. We call that wind chill.
Oh my God.
And I remember it was super cold.
How did you warm yourself up?
I went inside.
That is very smart because there were heaters.
That's the way to do it. Luckily, I was not in a forest. I wasn't camping. I was in a city. So we walked out. We said, it's really cold. We might have actually said a bad word in there. And then let's go inside. And that's what we did.
That's a smart idea.
Go to Canada in the winter, I'd say December, January, February. You'll be able to experience that. But be careful, because of course it can be very dangerous or even deadly. Take care of yourselves, guys. Always have your hand warmer at hand when you're in cold weather. And also remember to wear the correct clothing for the climate that you are in. Taiwanese clothes will not work in a Canadian winter. So that's just a good tip. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you back here soon. Keep those hands warm and take care of yourselves.
Bye.
好，课文接着写到，摇动暖暖包可以让更多的氧气进入，因此会更快的升温。那要延长暖暖包的使用寿命，可以把它存放在塑胶袋里面，来阻断氧气供应，防止它在没有使用的时候发生化学反应。那我们先来看单字 plastic。Plastic 它可以形容塑胶的、塑胶制的。那例句提到说，用旧的塑胶瓶来做东西。那这时候 Mike 老师用到 upscale，upscale 这个动词，它可以表达升级、提升档次。那就可以用来描述让商品啊、产品等等更高档、更具吸引力。好，再看到 prevent 这个动词，它表示预防、阻止。我们可以用 prevent something or somebody from 加上动词 ing 去表达说防止某事物怎么样，使某人无法怎么样。那 Mike 老师最后也有聊到加拿大的寒冬，这个体感温度甚至可以到-40度会有致命的危险。那老师用到 deadly，dead 后面加上 ly，deadly 就是形容致命的。好，这边一个重点，我们进入文法时间。这边我们来学习 heat up 的用法。那首先第一个，它可以当不及物用来指变暖、变热或是升温的意思。像 He turned on the heater and after a few minutes, the room began to heat up. 他把暖气打开，过了几分钟之后，房间就开始暖和起来了。第二个是当及物用去表达加热，使什么变暖，使温度升高。那你可以把它写作 heat something up。 或者是 heat up something。像 Don't forget to heat up the oven first。别忘了先预热烤箱哦。好，那以上的这些讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Question: Why does shaking a hand warmer help it heat up more quickly? A. It improves oxygen flow. B. It creates sound energy. C. It causes the oil inside to burn. D. It takes warmth from your hand. If you've ever spent a long time in the cold, you know how important hand warmers can be. But how do they create heat without electricity? The answer: through a common chemical reaction that we see all the time. Hand warmers work by starting a process that makes rust form on an iron powder. This reaction releases heat and is called oxidation. Hand warmers contain 4 main ingredients that are needed for this process to take place. These are the iron powder itself, salt, water, and activated carbon. The final ingredient needed is oxygen, which is added when the hand warmer comes into contact with air. The oxygen in the air enters the device through tiny holes in its surface and reacts with the ingredients inside, creating heat. Shaking a hand warmer allows more oxygen to enter. As a result, it heats up more quickly. To give your hand warmer a longer life, keep it in a plastic bag. This cuts it off from its oxygen supply, preventing the chemical reaction from taking place when it's not in use.
Figaro, 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 Figaro. Good singing, right? Today we are going to the National Taichung Theater. When you go there, you're going to be expecting for your ears to be blown away by music. But what you might not know is that your eyes are going to be blown away as well, because it is a feast for the eyes, being a beautiful architectural marvel. So why don't we get into today's lesson and learn more about the National Taichung Theater.
Toyo Ito designed the National Taichung Theater and introduced the idea of the sound cave. The structure is made up of a series of curved walls, and the main color is a simple white. The entrance lobby has a glass door for natural lighting. Green belts and waterways run from the outside to the inside. The theater has 8 floors, 2 basement levels, and 6 above the ground. There are 3 special elements at the National Taichung Theater. Curved walls. The outside of the theater is like slices of cheese with holes. The theater has 58 curved wall pieces and 1,372 support pieces. Water screen system. A water screen system prevents fires. When there is a fire, sprinklers produce a thin screen of water to keep the fire from spreading. Underfloor cooling system. Cold water pipes run under the building. Air vents are in the upper section of the walls. The temperature stays around 21 degrees Celsius to 23 degrees Celsius from the floor to 2 meters above.
I have never been to the National Taichung Theater, but I am excited to go now. And if you do go, make sure to also check out the water fountain show. And in the evenings, they also have a really cool light show. So if you find yourself in Taichung, make sure that you do not miss this beautiful place. And I'll see you there.